It's just not gonna. Oh,
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to THHoopers, aka THHoopers, aka Drew Gooden's favorite basketball podcast. It's Monday, August 16th, and I'm your host, Jacob Lehman. And joined with me, George Martin. We'll go George first because I started.
hello, everyone.
And Josh Rhodes.
Morning, guys.
We were just talking about George losing weight because he has to. But
Okay.
that was the.
We're just assessing the fact that nobody is asking him to, but he wants us to beg him.
No. I ask for your help.
He saw the peak male performance that I live every single day. I wake up and I piss excellence, and George was like, "Can you teach me how to do that?" And I got to teach
Excellence
him
is in the color of orange.
I drink a lot of water. That's what I got George on. That's neither here nor there, though. Remember, if you guys like what you hear, not just diet talk, basketball talk as well, you can follow us on Instagram at THHoopers, on Twitter, G_Martin21, on YouTube. Hello, subscribe. You just saw Josh get very confused. And then TikTok now. What is that, George? THHoopers Pod?
Yep, all lowercase.
I don't think it matters, but yeah. You posted your first TikTok. How'd it do?
400-ish views, about 9 or 10 likes. I got some comments that I'm going to respond to. Those videos will be up probably around a little after that this video goes up. So look forward to that. Like and comment, and I'm pretty much going to respond to every comment. But if we start getting too many, it'll just be mostly my ideas. But for now, I'm going to respond to all the comments on the videos.
How do you feel about that ratio, Josh? 400 views, 8 likes. They are not feeling him, but it's that counts.
It's a start. It's a start.
See, we're getting people to look at it at the very least. But George still does have to post when people are awake. 3 a.m. isn't when people are awake, my man. But it's progress.
I liked it. It was about the Blazers offseason, how they didn't do enough. And then George dropped he sprinkled on a hot take there that Blazers are not going to make the playoffs. I don't know if he knows the playoffs are now almost 10 teams. But
that would mean play in. I don't think they're going to be a top 6 seed.
So you got sneaky. Okay. There's a... I don't even know how playoffs work. Anyways, every platform that you interact with us, like George said, he's going to respond to your TikToks. I'll respond to the Instagram. I'm sure as hell George will respond to you on Twitter if you tweet at him. There's no doubt in my mind he will. So drop a comment, get a shout out, get a question answered. I think it's a pretty fair trade. We got a great show for you guys. I'm kidding. No, it's pretty dry, but we're going to have some fun. We're going to cover the Summer League fight where punches were thrown, and also do a way too early playoff picture. Look at it, name one reason a team will and will not make the playoffs next year, looking back to what we just got through. We're going to lead here with the trade we had on Sunday. Our show would probably not happen if we didn't have this, but it's pretty important. So we got some content to talk about. I'll let George ramble for about 20 minutes, and we'll have some fun. So the Clippers are linking up with the Grizzlies. They're making a 3-for-1 trade. Clippers are sending Patrick Beverley, Rajon Rondo, and Daniel George.
Oturu?
Gotcha. To the Memphis Grizzlies for guard Eric Bledsoe. Just an overhaul, and I'll let you guys do the real speaking. Grizzlies with an already packed roster, open-minded on the futures of all 3 players in Memphis. Will likely consider trades with some of those arriving in this deal. Memphis gets salary cap flexibility in the summer of 2022 with this trade because Bledsoe was on a pretty hefty contract. So I'll start with Josh here. Did you like it? Yes or no for either team?
I liked it for the Clippers. Patrick Beverley is a great defender, and if they can get Eric Bledsoe to buy in, they won't lose it as much. And I don't really think their main worry is defense when they're fully healthy. Bledsoe probably puts the ball in the basket better than Beverley and Rondo. I did say earlier that Rondo's kind of just a waste of space, and they probably should get rid of him. So for them to just be able to just ship him off for practically nothing is good. Oturu looked good in Summer League, but it's not like anything that we haven't seen before. So it's just like another player that probably won't get to see minutes. In terms of the Grizzlies, this salary cap flexibility, I don't really understand, just because all their players that they're probably looking to re-sign are restricted free agents. So they just got a bunch of extra players. They're starting to develop like a football team before training camp where they have to just cut like 8 players before the season starts. But I like it for the Clippers.
George, what was more of the headline here? Bledsoe going back to the Clippers, where he was pretty good as a 6-man, and then it shipped him off because he wanted to start because he's getting too good to be Chris Paul's backup. Or is it the Grizzlies getting all these like kind of pieces here, and you're intrigued? Like, are they going to trade them? Are they going to buy them out? Are they going to play these guys?
I'm more intrigued by the return that the Grizz got. First off, I just want to say a backcourt of Pat Bev and Dylan Brooks already gives me a headache. And teams playing against them are going to have nightmares because that
for 5 minutes and then they both foul out. But you can
they won't foul out, but I just think that might be very annoying for teams to go against. But I like this for both sides. One for basketball reasons, the other just financial reasons.
Uh-oh.
Like I said, I'm not, did I freeze up?
You froze up when you said financial reasons. So regroup, recover. I think you're solid now. I see you blinking.
Okay. All right. So, for the Clippers side, they get off 2 point guards, and it really opens up minutes for Terrence Mann, who we've been advocating to really get an increased role last year's postseason, really throughout the end of the regular season. And it also opens minutes up for Bledsoe because on the Grizzlies side, it's bad again.
He's ripping.
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Go.
Okay, let me not go on because I have my Twitter open reading the tweet, but I guess I'll just stay here and locked in. But Grizzlies side, they're at an interesting point. They have 17 players now, so like Josh said, they're going to have to cut a few. But I'm not opposed to having Pat Bev backup Ja. Like I said, him with Dylan Brooks is an intriguing duo to bring off the bench. They're certainly moving in more of a defensive direction and building around that. They bring in Steven Adams as well, who's probably a better interior defender than JV was. So maybe that's what they want to do moving forward. But Clippers get off like $30 million in luxury tax as well. So they cut their spending bill. They get to 15 players. And essentially they also made space for those 3 rookies they brought in, who I do like, and I think they like as well. So they basically move off 2 guards who were kind of getting played out of the rotation, and now they bring up some younger guys and then a starting caliber point guard in Bledsoe. So I don't hate it really for either side.
Josh, I know you both said you like it for both teams, not like a bad trade by any means, but you can also flip it and look at it. It's really weird that the Grizzlies, Eric Bledsoe's not worth a whole lot because his contract. But you trim the Clippers and you get like 3 guys that are like really don't really fit, and it's a 3-for-1. So you go over the the 15-man roster like you said, and also you trade 2 rotational players and a rookie for Eric Bledsoe, who doesn't really contribute to winning too often. Who's it weirder for? Or am I just kind of overanalyzing things?
Well, I think Daniel Oturu is a second-year player, but regardless, I think it's a little bit of overanalyzing because just if you look at it from both sides, all these players are expendable. It might just be weirder for the Clippers just because now they're kind of locked into the Bledsoe contract. But with the Grizzlies, they can get rid of whoever. They could just cut all 3. I think Pat Bev is going to get a significant role. I think that's kind of what they're set on. So it's not like anything. But Rondo and Oturu are easily expendable. So it's kind of like Pat Bev and Cash for Eric Bledsoe. That's kind of what the trade was.
Well, you're losing Cash because you can't just cut him. You got to buy him out. And Pat Bev's on a $13 million contract. So if you're going to buy out a player, why not just buy out Bledsoe? I mean, I do like Pat Bev as a backup point guard
if you can get somebody that you're actually going to consider playing, the Grizzlies weren't going to play Eric Bledsoe. They're going to play Patrick Beverley.
You'd rather play Beverley than Bledsoe?
Well, for the Grizzlies, I guess. I mean, it just depends on what they want. I mean, Bledsoe's not really like a player. Like you said, Beverly's perfectly fine with coming off of the bench and being just keep the intensity going, whereas Eric Bledsoe's not going to come off the bench for Ja Morant.
I'd rather have Bev.
As soon as they got Bledsoe, they announced that they weren't going to keep him, or they were looking to get rid of him. So it's might as well get some player that we actually are going to play in the rotation.
So isn't this an easy win for the Grizzlies?
No, because the Clippers can utilize Bledsoe, and if they can get Bledsoe to fit into a role, I'm just explaining why the Grizzlies came about to this trade. But Bledsoe is probably the better talent it's the best talent in this trade as of right now. So if the Clippers can utilize Bledsoe in a way that other teams haven't been able to, I mean, like you said, he was drafted by the Clippers, and it's a really good piece in my opinion.
George, do you like this in the fact for the Clippers, like, you're going to need some offense with Kawhi out. You get another ball handler and their playmaker when he's engaged. Do you like that aspect of it, or is it just kind of like you get backup point guard for Reggie Jackson?
I do, because I think they failed with the Rajon Rondo experiment. They really didn't play him much in the playoffs. He was essentially a DNP. So think of Bledsoe almost as a upgrade. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I think they look at it like that.
Well, they were DNPing Pat Bev and Rondo in the playoffs. So
first round even against
Dallas. They really
Dallas,
didn't feel like that a need for him.
So I think there's, that acquisition there adds to what you were talking about. And then I think the most important thing from this is just it opens up a bigger role for Terrence Mann, who, I mean, in some playoff games was averaging, or not averaging, just dropping like 30. He's going to develop nicely in this role he has. And I know Stephen A. was jokingly saying it makes Kawhi expendable with how he was playing, but they see Terrence Mann as a cornerstone, essentially, in this team. So I do like what's going to be expected of him next year.
What do you see, Josh?
So George's Pat Bev and Dylan Brooks thing, while it might come to mind, 6 hours ago, Molly Morrison tweeted it out. So I can kind of tell where George...
I showed Jake that tweet too, so he appreciated it.
Are you kidding me? You passed it off like... Did you ever? You must have gotten caught for plagiarism every single year.
What?
You just took someone's tweet.
No, my own wording had nothing to do with that tweet. I saw the tweet, but I had already thought of it in my head before.
It's just funny because I'm like 80% sure George didn't think of that 2-man lineup until he saw the tweet, and then he was like,
you're wrong. No.
Yeah,
wow.
George was thinking Pat Bev and Dylan Brooks on the trade app, but
he muted himself. Oh, he sneezed. Josh, weird offseason for the Grizzlies just continues. This is kind of the final point I want to hammer home here. Just overall, they changed a lot of kind of a winning formula to kind of they traded Valanciunas so they didn't have to pay him next year. But they make this move to open up cap space for next year.
Well, I said it about the Grizzlies offseason, and I'm sure we'll get into it when we do our divisions. They are investing all of their stuff in their stars. Like, JV's taken a lot of possessions away from Ja, so they got rid of him, and he has an expiring contract, like you said, so he's going to have to get paid. They're not going to want to pay a player that takes shots away from Ja. Keep in mind that Jaren Jackson is also going to be back for the whole year when he wasn't out, so that's.
But JV did help them win a lot of games, and as a young player, you want to help your young players win.
Yeah,
Steven Adams does not fit with John Morant too nicely. It's not really a direct fit.
Well, you would think that, but Russell Westbrook and Steven Adams are pretty good together, and then Russell Westbrook and John Morant play basketball pretty similar. But my main point is that the Grizzlies are investing all of like the possessions into their young players, whether it's Dylan Brooks, Morant, Jaren Jackson. They're hoping those three stay healthy. They have Grayson Allen, who they really like, coming off the bench.
Grayson Allen was traded.
Oh, never mind.
Which is why that was the worst move. Like, I don't understand why they did that to the Bucks.
I completely forgot about that. But yeah, that's the three that they're really looking forward to. Wow, that kind of threw me for a loop. But
isn't it weird? It's weird. Like
that part's a little weird. The JV thing I get, and this trade I understand, but I think that their main priority is they know who they want to have the ball on offense. And they're going to try to surround those pieces with players that don't really take possessions away. And I think they're just more concerned with the JV thing about the future. I don't know why they traded Grayson Allen, though.
Josh, do you know what position Zaire plays? Is he a 3 or a guard?
He plays like a 2-3, but he's like 6, like 8.
See, that's what's even more intriguing because they traded for 2 guards, albeit I do think Rondo gets bought out. But if there's just more of a logjam at those positions, why would you acquire them if you have a top 10 pick at a guard? But that will remain to be seen. I just wanted to know what position he was.
Yeah, he's 6'8", but he's like Brandon Ingram skin. He's like 185.
Well, he's going to have to grow into it.
I'm cool with that, honestly. I really like that draft. Like, even though it was probably a little bit of a reach, I like that pick a lot.
He's a good flyer. So Josh, what I'm hearing is you're okay with the setback from the Grizzlies this year not making the 8 seed because they're investing in their young players and kind of
if Ja and Jaren Jackson have years that they're anticipated to, they're still going to be winning games. I think everybody just gets too comfortable. Like, the thing is with Jonas Valanciunas, this team's ceiling lowers so significantly, and they have a set play. Like, the experimental things that they can do with Ja and Jaren Jackson fully healthy without having to worry about Jonas, because Steven Adams is, like, you know what you're going to get with Steven Adams. So if you just completely take him out of the formula, like, there's nothing. They don't really owe Steven Adams anything. They can plug him in whenever. But if they,
I think it lowers the ceiling with him.
I do get where Josh is coming from here, though, where like you can bench Steven Adams and run JJJ at the 5. You can do that with Valanciunas. But at the same time,
I don't know if you can bench Steven Adams.
They weren't just running a very set offense.
It's just a comfort thing. We just saw Jonas Valanciunas be such a great piece for the Grizzlies last year. He's probably the reason they made the playoffs.
He was their best player down the stretch.
Yeah, he's their best player, and now we see him gone. We see the Grayson Allen thing, which I don't.
And you think those guys gone lifts their ceiling because they can do whatever they want with Adams?
They're investing their stuff in their players, and Jonas Valanciunas, as much as we like him, was taking possessions away from Ja. And
it wasn't every play like let's dump it down to JV.
Yeah, no. But
Ja had 48 with JV in the playoffs. But
Jaren Jackson didn't play the whole season. Is what I'm getting.
I think you may be overvaluing Jaren Jackson at some points. I love him, but like
he's
coming up on his 4th year.
I'm telling you, the Grizzlies aren't going to be any better than the 8th seed with Jonas Valanciunas.
And I don't think they make the 8th seed with the roster they have right now.
Fair enough.
So if you're okay with just having Ja kind of have fun out there, and we get to run JJJ at the 5. And, have him get bullied because he can't play the 5. I know you have that, like, you want him to see that, but he can't play the 5. He's too damn skinny. So I don't really know.
I mean,
as long as you're okay with, like, the Grizzlies having a setback not making the playoffs, then your logic's sound.
I'm not necessarily saying they have to play him at the 5. I'm just saying that now they have players that are okay with more suppressed roles. So it's like now they can experiment with things that work. And now
then why didn't you get a center back? Because he takes up the same amount of space as JV, except he doesn't shoot the shot. So it's just another big body in there. So why even get a center back? Why not just fully
commit? You can take him out. The suppressed role is what I was getting at. And you have to suck up that contract, but it's better than getting JV for another year and then not wanting to pay him the money that he wants, and then just losing him for diddly squat.
I mean, I don't know. I feel you make the playoffs, you need a full commit and actually go get veterans. And make him job be like okay.
So you really think that this team is just full on ready, prepped next year to make a run in the Western Conference? They still need.
I'm saying they got worse.
Western Conference
they got worse, and their management really lost a lot of trust in me. They drafted JJJ and Ja, 2 home runs, and now you have this offseason where you're just kind of trading for lesser players, moving up 7 spots from the draft to get a guy who you might. Would he have been at 17?
No.
It would have been close. It would have been close.
A lot of teams really liked him at the end of the lottery, especially because players were. That draft was really funky from like 10 to 20 because there are players that were projected like 21, 22 going like 12 and 13, and players projected like 13, 14 going like 41. So
okay, so they traded to get their guy, so I won't knock them for that. But it seems like they got 7 spots moving up in order to trade JV for Adams. I don't feel it. George sent us home here. As far as just the Grayson Allen deal, all this Grizzly stuff, that it's probably the end of their offseason. I mean, they got to cut a few guys, but I told you to end us off here as far as talk about the Grizzlies offseason.
They just got 2 second-rounders and Sam.
Oh, he froze like Ferris Bueller. Okay, if you can hear me, stop talking. We're going to end it here. If you can hear me, we're not going to go to you for the Grizzlies. We're going to cut it now. But I'm going to go to Josh here, one of our
Okay. I can. Oh.
Okay, so don't talk about. So I can hear you now. Don't talk about the Grizzlies. We're just going to move on. We've talked enough about them. Josh, there was a summer league fight. We didn't get to see it in person. So you want to talk about that because punches were thrown it was a legit fight.
I watched the video. It's pretty rough. Let me pull up the tweet because I don't want to mess up anybody's names, and I know George isn't really going to help me in terms of the names.
It was Chimezi Metu and someone else. I forgot the other guy's name.
Yeah, Yeah. Well, Medu's the big guy here. So the Kings were playing. I don't really recall, but basically, as the Mavericks. Yeah, the Mavericks. Medu went up for a dunk attempt, and he got fouled really hard, and he fell to. Did he fall? I can't. Yeah, dunk attempt. Presuming he fell because last year
He's
the
in the
same thing.
air, kind of gets shut. Yeah.
The same thing pretty much happened. It's a typical foul that we've seen. Dunk attempt, you just get dragged down by like your torso, you fall hard. We've seen it happen multiple times. But last year that happened to Meadow and it fractured his wrist. So he reacted very, very aggressively and threw punches, and the thing got escalated very quickly. Took a lot for players to get calm, but that's basically the main point of the.
I'm sorry if I get it wrong. Was it the JV injured him? Was that the play?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
because he was hooping for the Grizzlies. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, that like killed his season. He probably got a full spot there. He was on a 10-day.
His wrist. He was out. He gets another opportunity here. Same thing kind of happens. So that's why a lot of players are like, Bobby Jackson said it in the post-game presser. He was like, we have to look at it because I kind of see where he's coming from, but we have to look if like his actions were quote unquote justified because, obviously throwing a punch, like you kind of have to have a good reason.
Especially in summer league, you're normally on your best behavior. It's like a 2-week-long interview. You're like, I'm a hard worker. My weaknesses, I'm a perfectionist. Like that's how summer league is for these guys. Like you always try and put on your best face. I haven't seen a summer league fight in a long time, and just because they really don't want to show that what they have. I guess that's a weakness that they can get like easily rattled. But George, where do you kind of fall on this? Do you think he's justified? Because the JV one, it's eerily so. I didn't even put two and two together because I saw this one. And I covered the JV one on the pod, way earlier, and it's almost identical. And I'd be kind of pissed off too.
I do in some sense because when something like that happens, it could just trigger like a heat of the moment response where he just gets all like emotional and heated, and it just.
Are you saying he has PTSD?
I mean, for an injury like that, you could, but I'm not gonna say he has it or doesn't. But I mean, I know
George isn't gonna diagnose him.
That's your job, Josh. That's your job. But I'm just gonna keep this off because I keep lagging when it's on. So I don't necessarily blame him, but I get it that you should probably need to keep your composure in summer league like this when you're trying out for a roster spot. But I also don't blame him because it's happened before. He probably got scared a little bit, and emotions got the best of him.
Oh, you ended it like with a comment on a period. Josh, do you think it's justified? You've kind of talked about it, but would you be upset if you were his coach?
Well, I'm kind of hypocritical, so I've had my few fair share moments of seeing red, so I kind of
you
the moment coming.
Don't take this kid like to a pickup game or like don't let him play like against people like actual people. He'll get emotional. He'll start like shoving.
No. See, I've grown to learn from my mistakes. That was a different person. I'm very much more relaxed, but I would say that
I have no idea what's going on.
That's good.
That's good.
Straight interrupted. But if I was his coach, I think it would just be like a quick one-on-one. Like, hey man, like, I get where you're coming from, but like we can't be doing this. Like throwing punches, like that's it's a little excessive. You can reason with it, obviously, but at the end of the day, like these guys are fighting for their jobs. And if you see on a resume threw a punch at somebody, like that should take somebody out of any job application or consideration right away. But I mean, he does have reason for it, like we've been talking about with the previous injury, but they should just get right back on track. Like, look, if he's a good player, like Bobby Jackson seems like a great mentor and a great coach with the summer league team. He's done a great job. So I think that, it's just like a really quick, like, hey, we can't be doing that. Like, let's get back.
Do you feel like any sympathy for the guy who did it? Because like it was just one play, but like the punches were thrown because of like a lot of backstory. You think he was caught off guard, or is it a dangerous play? So like, screw him.
I mean, I don't know because you can't really ever tell with like those certain things. Like you, I mean,
Like,
unless
was it
it's like
intentional? Was it not? Like,
unless
it's
it's
hard to
like
tell.
yeah, like everybody grows up with the priority of like stop the person from scoring, and you never really know like if it's intentional or not. But I mean, maybe he was definitely caught off guard. If you see the video, he's like, whoa, 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 hold on. But yeah.
Well, like I said, when's the last time you saw a summer league fight? That dude was probably like, yeah, well, I fouled him. So this guy's like coming out. He's like, oh no, no, oh no.
Yeah, I feel like there's been like every year there's been like one big scuffle between like teams that are like really competitive, but not like a fight.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of, if I was coach, I'm like, just no more. But everyone deserves a second chance. You've gotten multiple chances. You got put in the penalty box one time in basketball. I didn't know that was possible, but
I did get put in the penalty box.
10 minutes of a 40-minute game, they're like, he's not playing. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, okay. Yeah, it happened. He's like, who's the captain? I'm like, me. He's like, he's not playing for the rest of the game. I'm like, oh, okay.
I think they changed the rules.
I don't think I was there for
happened
that.
that happened to us this year, and they didn't bench anybody. Like when you got fouled really hard, they called the same thing that they called on me. Nobody got sat.
That's because the big guy that pushed me went over and sweet talked and put his hand around the waist, like George had a Greek dance and he sweet talked him.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, moving on. We got one less thing to talk about, and it's kind of a long one. We're gonna cover all 30 teams very quickly. George, are you with us?
I'm here.
Okay, I'm gonna assume you're here for a while because I did not do my research for this. I kind of just gonna host, let you guys do it. But we're gonna.
George did the research.
That's true.
It's all up in the big cranium of mine.
All off the dome. George does have a big head. Pause. But so, Josh, this was your idea. Stop yelling into your microphone. People listen to this, please. Josh, what is a game?
So I've seen this a lot, like these little short YouTube videos. So I'm not going to take full credit for it. But every year, especially I've seen it with the NFL. It's kind of like a ceiling floor video, which we're going to kind of transform it into. It's basically how each team or what each team has that can help them make the playoffs and what each team doesn't have that will make them miss the playoffs or miss a potential finals run or whatever the circumstance. Each team's scenario is different. To keep it very simple, we're going to have George name probably the best quality of each team and their ceiling, and then I'm going to name probably in my opinion the worst quality of each team and their floor. So
as always, George is going to be the peppy one, and Josh is going to be the Debbie Downer.
It's going to be good cop, bad cop. Same always.
I like bad cop, worst cop. That was more fun, but this will be fun too.
George is the worst cop.
Do you want me? It's your game. We should talk about this before, but do you want to go pro con, or alternate? Who goes first?
I think we can do pro con.
Okay, so George, you'll be going first every time, so you have to actually form your own thoughts this time. So we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna start in the East. We're gonna start in the East. We're gonna go 1 to 15 as far as last year's standings.
Sure. And George, keep it as simple as you can, straight to the point. Maybe like 2-3 sentences max.
All right, Philadelphia 76ers. George, what is one reason they can make a deep playoff run next year?
Joel Embiid. He had an MVP caliber season last year. I think he does it again.
Josh, what's one reason that they maybe first round exit?
Ben Simmons won't play for them, and if they do trade him, they're not going to get the value that he probably is.
Okay. Number 2, Brooklyn Nets. George.
The best chance for them to win. I think it's just the big, the big three. Honestly, yeah, being healthy, big three.
No need to overthink it. Is it health or is it just their pure talent?
Health.
Well, actually, health is one reason they can make it past. They don't got good health.
I know. But even if you had one more of the big three healthy, they win it all last season. So it's not much.
The pro of why they can make it is their big three. Josh, what's the reason they might not make it far?
I'm gonna stray away from the injury thing. I think
don't pray on no one's downfall. Don't do that.
Huh? I'm not praying on no one's downfall.
Yeah, avoid it. Yeah, don't speak it into existence.
If they get like some turmoil between Kyrie Irving, I know the front office was looking to ship him. So maybe if they get like some sort of,
I thought they were looking to extend him.
Now they are, but
This
previously
offseason, they were looking to ship him?
Yeah, there were a lot of trade rumors circling around Kyrie just because he has, you know how
He
Kyrie
must have
is.
gotten the
It's not
scoop
like
from
a-
Shams.
I do
it's
kind of
like
want to
not-
extend this a little bit. They did only play
Yeah.
7 games together. Do you see
Right.
that happening? Like
where they
Kyrie
only
doesn't
play 7 games.
No. Where they play a lot of games together, and Kyrie's like, you know, I don't want to be the 2. What the hell's going on here? Like where they actually where it doesn't mesh as well.
That's perfectly pleasable. The more games that they play, I mean, like they had such a small sample amount that it's like every time they all play together, it seemed like a treasure. But like if the treasure becomes like a normality, maybe somebody gets upset. Most notably, the person with the most mental distraughtment of the previous 6 years in the NBA, Kyrie Irving.
It seemed because there are a lot of people's finals picks, but when we break this game down, it's George has the pro, which is big 3. And that's really the only one they have. Then they got a lot of like questions or cons, like health, chemistry, lost a lot of the coaching staff, lost a lot of the defensive players. So it is odd that
They got Patty Mills, they got Blake Griffin. I think just with the talent they have, they are finals.
Yeah, it's talent.
Really hard to root against.
The defending champions, the Milwaukee Bucks. George.
I mean, this is the obvious one. Just another Giannis dominance all season. What we got last year.
Like his 2-way play?
Yeah.
Josh.
I think this is going to be another, like, just the fact that every team has a whole year to prep for them is their worst quality, because a lot of teams now are going to be like, oh, like, let the other guys win. We've seen it. So, like, let's stop it, or let's try to stop it, I should say.
Do you think a lot of teams enter the offseason in the East saying, like, we got to be able to build a team to beat the Bucks?
I don't know.
Raptors did it with LeBron for the last decade. I don't see why it changes here.
Who do you think personified that the most? Miami? We're gonna build this team to beat the Bucks. We're gonna match up well with them.
Honestly, throw Philly in there too. Philly's weird. Like, I mean, like Philly built their whole team, but like, you know, recently it's kind of been weird. Even Boston got Al Horford, so like,
I think Boston's an intriguing one.
I think every team in the Eastern Conference makes minuscule moves with Milwaukee in the back of their head, but Miami's probably
even before their championship run.
Probably because they were like, Giannis is bound to straggle one off.
Cool. Number 4, the New York Knicks. George.
Let's see here. Their pros.
I got one if you need help.
I'm gonna go with the defense. I'm gonna go with the defense again. I think that's their best trait as a team overall. Tibbs is a phenomenal defensive coach, and I think for them to move on in the first round, they're going to be able to defend because a lot of these teams in the East got better offensively.
Josh.
Overwhelming identity and egos. Randall, Kemba Walker.
Good one.
They need Evan Fournier to get like. They don't have enough. There's only one ball, and like all these guys are trying to make New York City their city, and I don't like it.
Oh, they want to be new Bobby Shmurda. They're trying to.
Yeah, I don't get.
Ego.
Josh
had that one loaded.
He made this game with the Knicks in mind.
Oh yeah,
he was like, I thought of this.
I did not actually.
Can I play?
I did not. That just came to my
I like
head
it.
right now.
The Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah. Let's see here. I think their young wings, DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish. I really like those two a lot.
Trade.
I know. I don't. And also Jalen Johnson, who they drafted. He's played really well at Summer League. I like their development this season.
Josh.
Lazy John Collins. He just got paid big. Wouldn't surprise me if he just hits the gutter. And none of those players, as much as their development is in the right spot, is ready to put in a starting power forward position against the Eastern Conference.
Do you see John Collins going back to being a little hoe? I want more shots, 4 more minutes.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Watch.
I don't
Jalen Johnson will
necessarily know.
Jalen Johnson
Because
will
I
get
do.
starting forward minutes.
You do?
Absolutely.
Well,
I
I
do.
would suppose you do since he hoed you out of a free
He
game.
was a big diva until he's like, oh my god, I got 20 more games to prove I'm worth a max contract.
He did start hooping at the very regular season and in the playoffs. Yeah, I don't
He
think
wasn't
so.
even a hooping though. Like he was barely scratching.
No. He was basketball playing. You know the whole debate.
Right. Yeah, hoopers are basketball players.
Yeah, no, he was doing all the little things. He was playing defense, getting boards. He's what I wish George was in our pickup league, but it's just too much to ask. Number 6, the Miami Heat.
The Heat culture.
Thank God, Josh.
Good grief.
They signed like a lot of free agents, right? George?
Yeah, you couldn't have said offensive power. Just say Kyle Lowry, man. Like something.
Kyle Lowry plus they have a lot of defensive versatility again.
Talk about buzzwords. Heat cultures like in the A tier. Oh my God! But Josh, what's one reason that the Heat might flame out in the first round?
The fact that they haven't fully processed and accepted the Bam at the 5 doesn't work against big boy centers. I mean, and Jimmy Butler's just getting older. They haven't surrounded them with enough talent, in my opinion. Kyle Lowry's great, but he's just old. They're just old, and the one thing that they got going for them, Bam's age, they're putting Bam at the 5 and not developing like a jump shot.
Oh, Bam's got a jumper. Well, in the bubble, he had one. Last year, he kind of regressed, but he had a great year last year.
Did he get the Olympic boost that most players get?
No, he's a phenomenal defensive player. But then when teams just pull him out, like they find ways around Bam's defense. But when Bam's probably like a top 5 one-on-one defender.
Like in the league, like guards or like whatever. Because he's one of the best.
Sorry.
Okay, because he is. Sorry. I think he got the title of best Giannis defender after Kawhi left town and went to LA. I think people started saying Bam was the best. The Boston Celtics. Are we in the tier here where it goes from why this team might flame out in the first round to why might this team not make the playoffs?
Yes. Okay.
So George, what's one reason the Boston Celtics can make a deep playoff run?
The Dennis Schroeder redemption tour. He lost a whole hell of a lot of money. This is a really good chance for him to earn that back.
Do you like Dennis starting or coming off the bench? Because if he comes off the bench, they probably start Marcus Smart and probably Pritchard, who just scored 91 points.
Josh Richardson.
Oh, they do have
right.
Richardson now. Okay. So yeah, do you like him as far as that or?
Yes, I like him leading second units, and I don't want him taking touches away from any of the Jays.
Sounds good. Josh, what's one reason the Celtics might have Jaylen Brown, have Jason Tatum, and not make the playoffs?
Their struggles at the center position. Al Horford's old, and while he might have a little bit of fuel in the tank, I don't think he's like enough because they're already sacrificing a lot of defensive height and ability when they put Jason Tatum at the 4. They can still kind of fluctuate because Jaylen Brown's a good big man defender, but I think that they've just constantly had that struggle where they can't figure out who can play center for them efficiently, and they had to bring Al Horford back because he's the best one to do it so far. So
he was locking down Joel Embiid, yeah, like that's what he was doing. I mean,
yeah,
even as a Laker fan, I don't have a whole lot of like bias towards the Celtics. Like, I don't want them to succeed. Mostly because of how they run their team, like the mid-2010s, like with the players they're drafting. But they just can't get it right. Why'd they trade Moses Brown? I don't understand that. They could have tried to mold him into a good center, and that is how it is. The Washington Wizards, newly revamped Washington Wizards. George, what's one reason they will make a playoff run? I'm not going to say deep because you got to be realistic here, but like a second round, like a first round upset.
Their very improved bench. We actually talked about this today. I think they have one of the, if not better benches, if not best, better benches in the league. We talked about it. Neto, KCP, Kuz, Harrell, and Thomas Bryant.
With Aaron Holiday as well.
With Aaron Holiday as well, who could even be the starting or the sixth, not the sixth man, just the backup guard on that team. But I think that overall might lift their ceiling a little bit.
Josh, what's one reason the Wizards might just keep wizarding?
They didn't add anybody that is consistent. We can talk about all these great bench pieces, but like, one night it's going to be this guy and the other
Please
guy's
mention
going to
you know this on
struggle.
Dinwiddie, right?
They did sign Dinwiddie, but Dinwiddie hasn't played a game in a whole year. So it's going to be interesting to see. Not only is he coming back from injury, he has to mesh with Bradley Beal, who is a very ball dominant guard. As we can tell why the Russ and Beal experiment didn't work. They just lost talent.
I think I'd probably push back on that one. Dinwiddie was probably the best player they could have signed in free agency because he takes a whole lot of pressure off Beal. I do like George's, though. The bench is revamped, but I did do a focus on that, so maybe I'm a little biased. Going out of the playoffs into the play-in from last year, George, what's one reason the Pacers can get a 4 or 5 seed or make an upset in the first round?
I think continuity. They're returning a lot of their better players. I know they lost Dougie McBuckets and Aaron Holiday, but TJ Warren's going to be healthy. Jeremy Lamb, Karis LeVert will be back, and then they got Brogdon, Sabonis, Turner.
Resign McConnell.
And McConnell, thank you. So just those guys getting back, and then I guess also health ties into that, but that might be Josh's. I just think those guys getting back and them running it back will be the biggest factor for them succeeding.
Also, Rick Carlisle, coach now. So, Josh, what's the big problem you see with the Pacers? Why they might just not make the playoffs again?
This one's really difficult, but in my personal opinion, I would say probably the most difficult thing for them. I want to say it's just the pairing with Sabonis. It's kind of the same situation as Boston, except Sabonis is a completely different player from Tatum. I mean, Miles Turner's great, but, Indiana has clearly stated that they just don't like him. And
Miles Turner continues to hope, but I don't know why they want to trade him so badly.
Rick Carlisle probably might get that deal done rather quickly. Maybe he implements something that the Pacers don't necessarily mesh well with, in terms of just like a playbook that requires Dirk Nowitzki talent, and they have Domantas Sabonis. No knock on Sabonis, just not Dirk Nowitzki.
You better watch him out.
But I think that's the big issue, because that seemed to be a big concern. They have a lot of players coming back, and so it could be the same thing as New York, but I think Indiana is a little bit more timid in terms of sharing the ball.
George, the Charlotte Hornets, a must-watch League Pass team this upcoming year. What is one reason that they can do a little bit of magic this year?
This is interesting. There's a lot of places I want to go here, but I just think overall this team's they're decently well-rounded. They have a ton of athleticism, but I don't think that's the key reason for them making a run. I just think surrounding LaMelo with better offensive pieces this offseason might help them, but they're just in like a weird state of limbo where if they don't even have half the injuries they had, they were going to be a home court team in the playoffs, so it might be health as well.
I think that's the second I've done that. Their strength is not health. They suck at staying healthy.
I know. I'm doing it backwards. I'm sorry, but I think their strength is just they have a lot of
surround LaMelo with.
Yes,
the supporting cast.
Exactly.
Josh, what's one reason? No, I'm not down the Hornets.
Youth and Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier had a good year. Maybe he does the thing he did in Boston where he doesn't like his role and he just cries like a baby and plays worse. And youth can always get, like, without Gordon Hayward, this team kind of struggles in terms of direction. We kind of saw that at the end of the year. So if that does happen again, I'm not entirely sure if they'll be able to, especially because they got Bouknight. He's also a young player. So just adding youth, great pieces. Just if a situation like last year happened, maybe I see a collapse again.
They did clear up the backcourt logjam, though. Which is nice, especially when you draft Bouknight. You need to clear that up. Yeah. George, do you see guys like Rozier and Hayward who had great years last year kind of out of nowhere? Do you see that happen again, or was last year a fluke and it's now all up to LaMelo?
Hold on, I was lagging. I didn't hear any of you.
I don't want to re-say it. The Chicago Bulls, the only team, the first team we're going to cover that missed the play-in last year. George, what's one reason that they could – I think we're going back into yeah, they can make a deep playoff run because they got a lot of talent. What's one reason they can?
Well, first off, just all around improvements they made in free agency had one of the top 3 best off seasons, but I think solely their improvements on defense are the reason they're able to catapult into the playoffs. They acquired Vooch last trade deadline. The offense was not a problem at all. They couldn't defend anything, and they brought in some better defenders. And I do think surrounding the offensive talent they did with DeRozan makes LaVine a better defender because he doesn't have to exert a ton of energy on the offensive end. And I know, Lehman, you disagree with me there.
Yeah, I don't think. I think they had an A+ in my book when they got Lonzo and Caruso. Then you trade Thad Young in picks for DeMar DeRozan. You pay him way more than who were they bidding against? It was like he's going to sign the MLE with a contender, and then the Bulls give him $30 million. Like he probably could have gotten away with 20. That's just bad business to me. But just focusing on the basketball side, he's not a good defender. Zach LaVine, not a good defender. You watch Team USA, he has the ability to, but he's not gonna. He likes playing offense more. That's just how he is. And Vooch is a top 5 worst center defender. Like it's ugly. So they got Pat Williams, who's a great defender, and then Lonzo, who's a good team defender. But I don't think that's their strength at all. Is how they built this team. I think if there is a strength, it's their offensive firepower. But I don't really think they got any defensive help. But Josh, if you agree with me there, you can say that. But what's one reason that the Bulls
you named the whole you did the George, you named the whole rotation, and you named my big reason, DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan, I think we'll have a podcast where we just make like fun lineups of like starting fives with like different categories. DeMar DeRozan is my starting shooting guard on players that you can't hate but can't win you anything. He's the starting shooting guard. So unfortunate.
The starting point guard is Russell Westbrook, right?
Yes, correct. Very good.
You hate him. What's going on?
Figured out 40% of my lineup.
The Toronto Raptors, who are in, George said it, a state of limbo. They have a very interesting roster. But George, what's one reason that they can have some fun in the playoffs this year? Oh no! All right, what's one reason they can't have fun in the playoffs this year, Josh?
I guess I'll do George's also. They have some dynamic pieces. I'm a big Scotty Barnes guy, as I've clearly continuously stated, but at the same time, my big issue is that they have too many Pascal Siakam lookalikes, and they have a love for Spicy P where they won't trade him. I feel like if they trade him and get some pieces, this team could be very complete. But other than that, yeah, my big thing is just there he is. Oh shoot.
We both tried to add him. George, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So Josh did the pros. Let's do a Freaky Friday thing right here. What's one reason the Raptors probably aren't going to...
I had a good-ass pro.
Well, you shouldn't...
Then say it.
The breakout of Gary Trent. But...
That's not a good pro.
That's not a pro. What?
I think it is because...
Gary Trent just did the same thing but got more minutes. He sucked and he was inconsistent.
That's why a breakout would be a pro.
Gary Trent's in my my most hated players. Cole Anthony, Gary Trent, the starting 1 and 2 on my.
You hate guys that have long hair and look like The Weeknd. But anyways, Khan.
I'm doing you a service, Lehman. I'm hating everyone that looks like The Weeknd.
I would say
Bruno Mars sucks.
I would say Khan is really not replacing Kyle Lowry well. They got Dragic, but it doesn't look like. He doesn't look like he has a future there. Well, Gary Trent doesn't replicate the game of Kyle Lowry. He doesn't play defense.
Yeah, he replicates their best player, Fred VanVleet, just even shorter somehow.
Trent's 6'5", but I feel like them not being able to replace their like combo all around guard is their biggest flaw.
Fair
enough. Cleveland Cavaliers, who. Woof. All right, George. What's one reason, though? You got to think positive. What's one reason they can beat the Cleveland Cavaliers of the first 2 months of the 2021 season?
Who did they draft again?
They drafted Evan Mobley, Josh.
That's right. I forgot
they re-signed Jared Allen, and they want to trade, and they want to play Mobley at the 4.
I would say the coexistence of Mobley and Jared Allen.
That's what's going to be there. That's what's going to work.
I think that. Well, their best shot to be good is them coexisting.
I don't think you get this game.
What? What do you mean?
George, you have to name their best quality. Like, what's something that's already going good for them and that can take them? Not this experiment.
If you
Okay.
believe Mobley and Jared Allen can work, then that works. But I don't
Apparently
think any of
not.
us really believe.
But anyways, Colin Sexton having another efficient year, scoring 25 points per game. That happened. Okay, I don't know why I'm getting funny looks. Did he get
Josh, what's
traded?
one?
Did I miss that? I don't get it.
They don't like him, man. I don't really.
Well, he's there right
That's
now, right?
false.
I thought we were
That's
doing the
false.
proven, huh? No.
That. Why are you okay, George?
People listen to this, man. Don't scream.
Recently, Cavs and Colin Sexton extension talks have resurfaced.
Oh, I thought they didn't want him.
It seems that Cleveland has a change of heart because of Colin Sexton's commitment to the actual Cavs organization. So that
Thank God he's a bucket.
Well, I did know that, but Lehman didn't.
Oh, he knows everything.
Well, Lehman didn't think I did, so.
No, I didn't know that, man. Oh,
well, yeah.
Josh, what's one reason the Cavs will not work next year?
George lags out one time. He came back with half of his brain. My thing is going to be the thing that George talked about and believes is going to work, but we all clearly have stated that Evan Mobley can't play the 4 at the moment in this league, maybe later on, but they paid Jared Allen so much money and then drafted his replacement.
No, they did it the other way around. They drafted his replacement
they drafted
and then paid him money.
And then paid him money. Yeah, that's even worse. Yeah, I mean, this team has potential. They also have a very bad bench. But yeah, I think the center issue there is probably what capitalizes the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, I would have liked to see a Jared Allen sign and trade to get some bench pieces, but stick with the Cavaliers, man.
Get Kuminga to get both of them. Shoot, why not?
Who knows, man? All right, the Orlando Magic. We're coming up on the tail end of the East. George, I feel like you'll have a pretty solid one here. The Magic are George. The Magic are kind of building something nice there. What's one reason they can think in the
So I can't say any potential things, correct?
No, you can't.
Anything you believe.
You have to say it that it will work. You can't just say go ahead.
Okay. Anyways, development of Jalen Suggs and basically him turning into their best player.
Would that be good if he's their best player?
Yeah, I think so.
George has high hopes for Jalen Suggs.
He's my favorite player in the draft.
I think he'll be great too, but like if he's your best player, I don't know if he's sneaking into the playoffs that way. But I do think Suggs is one of my favorite players in the draft too. Summer League he just looked bonkers. He's ready to go. Josh, what's one thing that can go wrong? One reason already you have in mind?
We literally saw it in the Summer League. They started 3 point guards, man, and they got like Markelle Fultz also. They got to get rid of somebody. I think Cole Anthony's gone. He's got to go. I think they need to keep they need to fix because they're ruining their development by keeping all of them. So they got to pick 2, maybe 3, and let the rest of them walk.
Are you counting Hampton as a point guard?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Okay,
yes.
so it's Hampton, Suggs, Fultz, and Cole Anthony.
Hampton and Suggs can coexist together. We saw that.
100%.
Honestly, recycle. Get rid of Anthony and Markelle Fultz and bring Suggs and RJ Hampton in.
George, who would you keep if you could keep 3 of them?
I would keep Anthony, Suggs.
Why? Tell me one good reason why. Tell me good.
I'm a Josh here.
Why.
I'm a bigger Fultz fan than I am a anti-Cole Anthony hater.
Yeah,
tell me one thing Cole Anthony does that's good. Make game-winning shots.
I don't want to do this. I don't want this
to happen.
The Detroit Pistons got the last seed in the NBA last year. They were awarded with the first pick in the NBA draft this year. 20-52. George, what's one reason they could turn around and make the playoffs this year?
Number 1 overall pick, Cade Cunningham. He has a rookie of the year type season. I think that they have a good shot at contending for a play-in spot. The roster does need a lot of work, but Cade, it's going to be on his shoulders.
Josh, what's bad about the Pistons that you see right now?
You know what? I'm going to say something controversial because I could just say they're the Pistons, but I think that the fact that Cade Cunningham might struggle early on to figure out his role might hurt them more than help them. I mean, later on they'll win games, but early on they might drop 16, man, in a row.
What role is he trying to figure out?
Where he fits on the team. He's not the dog, the alpha dog at Oklahoma State. He's joining an NBA team, and while he will eventually be the alpha dog for the Pistons. It's going to take some getting used to. He's going to have to learn how to play with his teammates before his teammates learn to trust him and let him grow. That's what we've seen a lot of the time. So I think that might hurt them.
Love it. Moving on to the West. We're going to start with everyone's favorite team, the Utah Jazz. George, what's one reason that the 52-20?
How about this? George, do you want to do cons and I'll do pros for the Western Conference?
Oh, let's go Freaky Friday.
All right, we'll switch it up. So
let's
I'll
go
do pros.
Freaky Friday. So I'm going to start with Josh now because we like to stay positive here. So the Utah Jazz. What's one reason they can make a deep run?
I had one easy for Utah, so I wanted to switch it up a little bit. Donovan Mitchell's potential in the playoffs is absurdity. If you look at his numbers, the fact if they can just maintain they brought Mike Conley back, and they're going to make the playoffs. I mean, I don't really think that's too much up for debate.
No, yeah, it's playoff run.
I think just Donovan Mitchell's potential in the playoffs, he's like the greatest playoff performer of all time. It's crazy how good he is in the playoffs. I think
it's him and Jordan.
That soul alone can get them in a far position.
George, what don't you like about the Utah Jazz? I can't think of anything on top of my head that you wouldn't like about the Utah Jazz.
Oh, here we go. Thank you, Josh, for lobbing this one up to me. Teams being able to attack Rudy Gobert on the perimeter in the playoffs.
He's different.
Oh, you see some film? You see his workout tape?
He's my starting center on the top 5 hated team.
# not my starting center.
Did you really just only spend 15 seconds on the Utah Jazz? All right. The
Do you want to know the reason why they lost last year?
Phoenix Suns. Josh, what's one reason they can repeat what they did this year and make a deep platform?
They know they might have got lucky, but now they know the pressure of being in the finals, and experience you can only see what experience does after the team's experienced it. They've had the hardest loss, in my opinion, losing in the finals. That's the second place is the first loser. With that in mind, the motivation's definitely there, and the experience now is there. So I think that if they just run it back with the same team, which they did, and they got a couple good pieces. So,
what's more likely? They sleepwalk through the season because they got that finals hangover, or they come out the gate 20-2, like just crazy?
Can I say both? Like, can I say like they?
No, George. What's one reason that the Suns will not play good or will not make a deep playoff run next year?
The entirety of the Western Conference actually being healthy.
Oh,
do you think the high seed they get from coming into the season early is going to help them with that issue, or do you still think, oh, now you get the Nuggets at the 7th seed? Dear God,
no, because we saw that with the Lakers that it didn't matter. We saw with the Lakers that necessarily didn't matter. I don't think they're.
Listen,
okay.
Listen.
Yeah, go for it.
Lakers was like, yeah. Okay, maybe probably the Lakers would have won. I don't want to hear anything about Jamal Murray's change. They beat the brakes off the Nuggets, all right? I don't care if the Suns played that. It's a 4-1.
I said I don't think they'd be scared of them because they routed on this.
I have the Nuggets better than the Suns this year.
What? Why?
Because they're better.
What did they get? What did
it
they
depends
get?
on how Jamal Murray comes back.
Well, that's a reason you can't really have him ahead.
Brakes off the Nuggets.
Josh, they were starting Facu Campazzo and Austin Rivers in their backcourt.
And they won a series against your Blazers. Like, Nikola Jokic is that dude. Aaron Gordon another year in the system.
It wasn't that dude against DeAndre Ayton. He got swept.
Oh, my God. He was the only guy. This isn't the point. Let's move on. This isn't the point.
28 against Ayton, but okay. All right. The LA Clippers. Josh, what's one reason they can rally the troops and make a deep playoff run?
Oh, well, the Nuggets were the 3rd seed, but we'll go with the Clippers.
Oh, I said the Nuggets. Okay. All right. Okay, yeah, go Clippers, and then we'll go back to Nuggets.
With the Clippers, I think the Kawhi surprise factor helps him. Like, he's going to take a sweet time to come back. And I've been talking about how much I like Paul George being the number 1 focal point on offense. Now he has a whole season to develop that before Kawhi comes back. And I think that with both of them healthy going into the playoffs, if they can kind of reassess who's the focal point on offense, that team might be a lot better.
Do you see him come back this season?
Kawhi, if they're in a good playoff run, maybe.
Like
Why
a
would
run
he-
or the playoff hunt, like seeding wise? Do you think he's going to come back in like the
Yeah,
second
like
round?
if they're top like 3 or 4, maybe he comes back like right before the season ends.
Okay, I feel like. Okay, George, what's the reason they can't do it?
Well, Kawhi's injury history and just his past experiences of them really not being upfront with his timelines, especially what we saw with San Antonio. I get Josh's surprise factor, but I actually think it might hurt them if they don't necessarily know when he's coming back, or they're playing this waiting game of, is he coming back? Do we have to adjust to him being back after playing a full season of PG #1 ball?
Okay, but to be fair, he did just sign a 4-year deal. Do you think he's just gonna sit and watch his team grow older for a whole year?
I do.
He's the one to definitely err on the side of caution.
Also, George, am I crazy? If what Josh says is right, if they're a 3 or 4 seed, maybe just let Kawhi take the season off. Something's working. You don't want to have to in the last 10 games figure out how to fit him back in.
Because
you think this team can make it without Kawhi to the finals?
If they're rolling, Josh,
you said he only comes back if they're a 3 or 4 seed. And a 3 or 4 seed in the West is very impressive.
Josh, the biggest thing with Kawhi's game in the postseason is just his mentality and him being able to not freeze out of these games. If they're rolling and he's got it hot and he's got it going, I wouldn't want them to disturb that. As great as Kawhi is, I say, take as long as you need. We got something good going here. And
interesting.
Yeah.
The Denver Nuggets, who I glossed over because my tiny little brain got confused because we were talking about Jokic. Josh, what's one reason that the Nuggets can make a deep playoff run?
Gosh, if they can play ball for the love of God, please, Mike Malone, I'm begging you. No, the big reason, beside the obvious, I'm going to say just development of Michael Porter Jr. He got a lot of time playing the second offensive weapon, and he really showed out, especially in like those big games against Portland, where there were just moments where like the offense was kind of struggling, and at the end of the season, he was just what was our trend? Like he just makes over 20 points a game or something ridiculous.
He was always over 50%.
Yeah, over 50%. The thing is, his shot selection isn't even good. He shoots the same shots he shot in high school, and they go in. It's crazy how good he is offensively. I think that he's their X factor.
When you're 6'11", you could shoot whatever the hell you want because no one can block your shot.
Kevin Durant.
George, what's one reason that the Nuggets, maybe they're a first-round exit?
This pains me a little because I'm high on the Nuggets this year if Murray comes back to form. But I'm going to go against Josh again, where he says MPJ kind of becoming the 2. That's definitely Murray's slot. He's capable of putting up 40 in any playoff game. And I just think that I don't know how great MPJ could be if he just has to revert back to that third role and just being like in the corner, catch and shoot. So I get worried with that. It's kind of the same thing with the Clippers where, they have something going and it's do they disturb it? Do they not? Just a lot of question marks up in the air.
The Dallas Mavericks, Josh. This is still, I would say, deep playoff run.
I have to talk about good.
Unless George wants to Freaky Friday you.
No, he definitely wants to talk about the bad. I guess I'll go with their additions. I mean, they're not great, but Reggie Bullock's better than Dorian Finney-Smith, and Moses Brown maybe can get some sort of thing going where he's a threat in the pick and roll. Anything that can make a team not focus on Luka Doncic 125% of the time. They kept their most important offensive piece that's not named Luka Doncic, so they didn't necessarily get worse. I think that's their plus.
They treaded water,
and they're always a threat with Mr. Doncic.
All right, George. I'm not going to take any of yours. I want to see which one you go with because I got a few things that could derail their season.
Everything.
Well, first off, who they hired as head coach, a lot of news surrounding Jason Kidd, a lot of bad news surrounding him, I'd say, and kind of just Luka having his fingerprints all over the organization, which I don't think is bad when you have a superstar like him. It's just him basically, throwing out all the front office, all those guys, and bringing in new people. It's kind of like he's running the show as their player. And then I look at the additions, like Bullock is nice, but I wanted them to add someone who could, like a Kyle Lowry type, that can take the ball away from Luka and score on his own. Reggie Bullock is just another like THJ or
But
Dwayne Finney-Smith. Where
can't you argue that Luka's the best with the ball in his hands?
no, because we saw in those Clipper series, he ran out of gas trying to dribble for 40 minutes. He needed someone
That's
else.
on him. Like he was
True.
not in shape. Like
So that's also another con. Thank you, Lyndon, for bringing that up. I don't know if you had anything else.
I do think that him like not really taking responsibility. Like they haven't won a playoff series, and he's like, I want full control of this team. I'm like, yo, bro, you're 22. Like I know he's like gonna be one of the greats, but like he hasn't proven really yet. Okay, I'm not gonna say that. He's a top 3 player in the NBA right now, but just they could have won that series if he doesn't run. If he just conditions a little better. Him and Jokic both played themselves into shape last season, and for Jokic it worked. For Luka, he simply did not come through for them. And I think that might be a continuation.
He's still playing though, so I mean he's gonna go straight into training camp because the FIBA's like done now. So he's still playing. So
I don't know if that helps or hurts his case, because you could say he's still playing and it's gonna build his stamina. But like even I can't be like that mean of a guy and be like, well, you gotta play 40 next season. He should be tired. He should be tired. I don't know, man. The Portland Trailblazers, kind of a hot topic for the THHoopers on TikTok. But Josh, what's one reason that they can, turn the tides here, be a little different than usual, be quirky?
I can't even say it because it's a potential, but
you don't know how the game works, do you?
I do. I know. I wrote.
It's your game. You can't not know how it works.
This one's so.
Should I go with the cons first while he thinks?
I think George is screaming in his bathroom. Like,
yeah,
no, I'm not in my bathroom.
Okay,
I'm sitting in my same spot.
I think now that they have, I think the thing that can help them the best, good grief, is going to be the fact that they have their full team. Like they made the trade late for Norman Powell, and that might have thrown them off. Hence why their record depleted so much. But that's the only thing I can really think of, man. There's so many flaws with that team.
I was gonna try and save you. I couldn't think of anything either. Let's go to the con guy, George.
That's actually the worst thing that they could have done in the season. The same exact team. They needed to blow that shit up. So excuse my language. But
my thing was the potential to get Ben Simmons for just CJ McCollum is crazy.
That's probably out the door with Daryl Morey's asking price, but they brought in nobody as like a defensive specialty. It's just Rocco sitting out on an island again, gasping for air. I don't think this team makes the playoffs, like Lehman mentioned at the beginning of the season, but I have a TikTok video on this. I don't want to rant any longer.
If you want to hear George say the same exact thing that he just said
a minute long
at THHoopers
pod
TikTok,
THHoopers pod on TikTok.
Shameless plug. Thank you, Josh.
The Los Angeles Lakers. They're the 7th seed, but I think we all agree this title or bust.
George, you gotta talk bad about the Lakers.
This is why you wanted to do that.
So Josh, what's one reason that the Lakers can make a championship run?
They surrounded their best players with players that actually do the things that they're supposed to do. Wayne Ellington, great, best piece. Forget Russell Westbrook. Wayne Ellington is the player that they have as this free agency. They got a lot of players that can definitely rile the bench up, and Kent Bazemore. They got rid of Kuzma. Thank goodness. Like they got rid of like the toxicity and then just added like players. I mean, they lost Caruso, but I mean,
I'm gonna miss that bald guy.
Russell Westbrook kind of covers up most of the thing. Like my big issue with the Russ thing was the fact that now it's just LeBron's their best shooter, and then they just got a bunch of shooters and a bunch of people that just can make buckets. So I was like, okay, nice, this is awesome.
All right, George, give me 6 reasons the Lakers suck.
Can't believe I'm saying this, and I know Josh is gonna start agreeing with me.
Say Russ.
The Russell Westbrook experiment not working out. That's it. That imploding in the faces of the Lakers.
We can make some Lehman. Like we got to figure out some bet. Like this can't be like a 2-way bet though, because we both.
Josh is actively rooting for his team to suck because he hates Russell Westbrook that much.
No. If the this is a win-win for me.
He bought a Larry Bird jersey 4 days ago. He's not a Lakers fan.
He wasn't in the right. I can't say that.
Whoa. slow your roll. I can't just because I'm a Laker fan means I can't appreciate greatness. But I win in both situations. If the Lakers win the title, Lakers win the title. But if the Lakers lose, it's because Russell Westbrook. So like,
How about this? We can make the bet. If Lakers get off after 20 games and they're under 500, I lose the bet. Because I'm saying Russ contributes to winning, but all his teams are bad at starting off.
Couldn't you
because
say, though, that
they'll have to adjust to Russell
if they
Westbrook's
are above
style.
I don't
500?
think their potential is going to be seen until the playoffs. I want to see them all play. Like I want
Is this
LeBron,
like a seeding
AD,
thing?
and Russ to play. No, it's
For
not
what?
even a seeding thing because the Lakers are going to get a high
Let's
seed
make
just
the
because Russell
bet
Westbrook
off
runs.
the pod, and we'll introduce it at the start of next episode.
That's what I was trying to.
Yeah.
Good
All
job,
right.
mediator. Good job, mediator.
Yeah, word up, Jordan Mickey. The Memphis Grizzlies. Josh,
Ooh.
what's one reason that they can make a playoff run?
Talked about they invested all of their possessions into their best players, and it's gonna work. John
Oh,
Morant,
yeah, we
Jaren
did it.
Jackson's back. Zaire Williams rocks. So I like the young core that they have, and it just seems like every single offensive possession is going to go to at least one of them. So I like it.
I just realized that you kept saying all their possessions are going to their best player, but we agreed JV was their best player last season. So it is it is really funny to see.
Mickey Mouse point.
But George,
Oh, he's gone.
So, piggybacking off of what Lehman said earlier, their questionable free agency moves, how they fit as a team and not being able to play Jaren Jackson, maybe where a lot of us see him best fit at the 5, and then just
Jaren Jackson's
overall,
a 4, bro.
I thought they wanted to play him at the 5. I thought they were trying to get him minutes there, and they thought he was better there. But and then I've been thinking this. I don't know how you guys think, but I don't know how giving Ja someone who is even more of a paint clogger than JV was helps, because he's not a great shooter and he was getting a lot of his stuff inside. I don't know how that spacing will help him, or lack thereof.
Josh said Russell Westbrook worked, so Ja will. And that's kind of the extent of it.
It'll be remain to be
Probably the trickiest one, as far as if we were doing actual ceiling and floor. But there's simply no time for that. The Golden State Warriors. Josh, give me one reason they can make a deep playoff run.
Just their questionability. Like this is probably George's also, but the fact that they have their whole team together, they have Kuminga, who they're all very high on. They have Wiseman. They have Wiseman.
The cum bucket,
they have
yeah.
Wiseman still, and Moses Moody. Like this team has a pretty, like when you look at it on paper, like they're really good. But like, I think that they could just surprise a bunch of people just because of the depth that they have, and with the whole team coming back, like the chemistry's there, and it's not like it's gonna break because Jonathan Kuminga is not getting minutes.
Well, it did kind of break last year because of Steve Kerr's treatment of rookies, but I do agree with you that their mystery is their kind of their best what's the word, asset. George, what's one reason the Warriors might not make the playoffs next year?
I'm glad I actually got the cons, because there's been a lot that I wanted to talk about.
Get it off your chest.
The Warriors front office and owners, just their whole franchise in general,
really out there giving up 50 points a game.
Pinning the ceiling of their team on the return of Klay Thompson. I think that's very unfair to him, coming off of 2 major, also career-ending potential injuries. He might not even start the season, and he's only going to be playing minimal minutes when he starts. So, Josh, you got to what?
George. What do you mean it's unfair to Klay Thompson, who's getting paid to play basketball?
I think it's unfair because their owners actually said this. Articles have come out, and I've seen it on Twitter. I've seen interviews.
Klay Thompson's.
You think it's fair to say, oh yeah, Klay's going to be back, so he's going to hide all the problems we had last season because we're bringing in rookies. You think it's not? You think it's fair?
Not necessarily like that, but you're saying it like their ceiling is dependent on Klay Thompson's return. That's set in stone.
I don't think it's fair that a guy coming off of 2 major, almost career-ending injuries is the reason that your ceiling might be lowered, and not the fact that you didn't take advantage of the assets you had.
Didn't we just do this for Kevin Durant? Didn't we just do this for Kevin Durant with the Achilles?
I think it's a whole hell of a lot different, because They had two. They
Why?
brought in a third star for KD. They couldn't play KD big minutes down the stretch
Clay
of the
has
season.
Steph Curry, George.
Okay, who's their third star?
They're trying to figure that out.
They're not trading. They would have made a move beforehand.
I'm not saying they're going to trade for a star. They're trying to figure out other pieces, but it's not like that. Kevin Durant was still their best player, but it was all dependent on him, regardless of who they added.
I just think that you can't make it all dependent on him when we knew
I'm leaning towards Josh here, but also Josh, isn't it a little like kind of premature to be like, yeah, Clay's gonna be 100%. Let's just keep these young guys.
Okay,
let's not go get a different gear.
That's preposterous. But the idea of throwing in the air is saying like, oh, our ceiling's dependent on how Klay Thompson comes back. That's a perfectly valid statement. You can't just say, oh, that's unfair because he's coming back from injury. If he comes back and he sucks, the ceiling lowers. That's just how it is.
I just think it should be on him.
He's saying unfair in the sense that you had these assets. Why not go get Bradley Beal? Like, why not help Klay Thompson get eased into it instead of, we got these young guys, Steph Curry, please go average 20 a game and guard the best guy on the other team.
That's fair. That point is fair. That's probably how he said it. I probably just wasn't understanding George. But yeah, that is a little bit preposterous, but I don't know.
Beauty. Now we'll go to somewhere where we kind of agree. The San Antonio Spurs. Josh, give me one reason they can make the playoffs. Give me a reason, Josh. Come on,
Josh, you should not have taken the pros on this one, buddy.
Look me in the eye, Josh. Come on. Why can the Spurs make the playoffs?
Season.
Without trades, I think DeJounte Murray is going to flourish in his new role as the primary. I wouldn't say scorer, but just a primary option. I mean, they had DeRozan. And they kind of knew like what the team was. It was DeMar DeRozan, but now all the responsibility goes to DeJounte Murray, and I think he's going to excel in it. And he's got a lot of pieces that aren't really asking for a whole lot. He has Doug McDermott, who just makes buckets. They have a rookie. I mean, they're not the best team in the world, but if Murray can kind of go above and beyond, they might have a chance to sneak into like a play-in spot.
Don't disrespect Keldon Johnson and their other 9 point guards. They got some talent there. George, give me a reason the Spurs. Well, yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. George, give me a reason that the Spurs might not make it. It might be another rebuild.
I just don't know what their sense of direction is. They have a ton of guards who could start, but someone's gonna have to get the axe.
They don't have Patty Mills.
Thank God.
And they added Zach Collins, who has literally been in street clothes his whole career. I guess they're starting center's Pirtle again. Johnson is now taking DeMar's spot as the starting three. I don't know where they're looking. I know they're looking towards the future, but in terms of right now, I don't know. I don't see a lineup that makes me think that they're going to make a playoff spot.
I'll tell you the lineup right now.
I want to hear it right now.
Murray, Derek White, Doug McBuckets, Keldon Johnson, Zach Collins. That's a very good defensive team minus Doug McBuckets, and that's a team that can score and run plays.
Doug
my God,
is going to lead that team to score.
Insane.
I'll mute myself.
Computer did not like my lineup.
I mean, Josh, you do know that the Grizzlies and Spurs have the same offseason, right?
One team has John Morant. Okay, man.
That's why I didn't say they're the same team. I said they had the same offseason. Context is everything.
At least we know the Grizzlies starting lineup.
I always know when he unmutes before he talks because I hear the stupid fan. That's how I know. It's like when you put a bell on your cat. That's. But the New Orleans Pelicans, Josh, give me a reason that they can finally get Zion into the playoffs.
Maybe it's just.
Why'd you moan?
I sighed. They got worse, but maybe it's just the fact that they don't have to deal with the point guard turmoil that they've been having to deal with for a while. They got JV, who also can put the ball in the basket. I think it's just at this point, it's just man, figure it out. You have 2 capable 30-point per game scorers. You should not be missing the playoffs. That's 60 points a night. Guaranteed. Or should be.
George, what's the reason that the Pelicans suck and won't make the playoffs again?
Well, they started off free agency pretty well, but I think the loss of Lonzo Ball.
By losing Lonzo.
That was the first deal of free agency, by the way, the Lonzo Ball one. So I don't know where they started.
Oh, I meant with the JV trade, but I guess that wasn't.
They got Tomas Sederansky. That's what it was. That's what George likes.
Well, George, just say they got better with free agency.
Well, I meant the trade with JV, but I guess that wasn't free agency, so that's my bad. But they bring in Devontae Graham, who really wasn't even a starter with the Hornets.
I forgot about that. He's going to take points away.
So he's not that great of an offensive guard, and his defense is a considerable drop off from what Lonzo had. So yeah, I'm just their moves in general. I mean, they have Zion and Bi, which I guess is just it might be enough, but I'm not confident in them making the playoffs. Oh, he's gonna sneeze.
No, that's a sniffle. I'm almost 100%. I'm like probably 83% back to 100% healthy, but I'm 100% COVID negative. So hip hip hooray for me. And the Sacramento Kings, a team near and dear to my heart. So I need you guys to tell me. I'll start with Josh. What's the reason they can finally make the playoffs after I think it's been, 16 years?
I'm going to say...
You are stressed out. You're sighing a lot. You're making a lot of noises that aren't words.
I think they brought back all the pieces that help them. I mean, they drafted Franz. Or they didn't draft Franz. I thought they were going to. They didn't. My bad. But they have 3 starting caliber point guards. But the big thing, I guess, is the return of Rashawn Holmes. I said that was the number one priority that they needed to do, and they were able to do that. I think he's a great piece for them. And if they can figure something out, whether it's trade one of them for some good pieces, maybe pack like a Davian and Harrison Barnes for some player, I don't know, get Bagley out of there. I mean, they have a very good foundation. Like a lot of teams over here are kind of just struggling with like who they can build their team around. They have De'Aaron Fox for a long time, and now Rashawn Holmes. And I think
they have talent. So yeah, just figure out what they got to do with that talent, whether it's shipping them off or not. George.
So yeah, they have talent, but the guy managing that talent, Luke Walton, is their biggest con. I don't think he's the right coach for them.
Not Vlade Divac, Luke Walton.
I mean, if you want to get high, if you want to get to the higher ups,
Luke Walton sucks.
So the other
Vlade
15 coaches.
Vlade has hit in every draft besides the Bagley one. You got to give him credit where credit's due.
He shouldn't have even.
He doesn't do anything with them. He just lets them walk. Tyreek Evans, was that a hit?
That was like 2010, man.
Rookie
Come on,
of the year, baby. Rookie of the year.
Dog, that was the last decade. But and then another thing is just they're
tagged out.
They have a bunch of talent at the guard position. There's just not enough minutes for them.
Ben McLemore.
Oh my,
shut up! Don't look up the Wikipedia of Ben's draft.
He's still going. He's breaking.
They're off the top of my head.
Like Davion Mitchell was a home run pick. It's just, what are you gonna do? Play Tyrese at the 3? Like you can't. Somebody who deserves minutes is gonna get completely cut, and that's just not a good look for their culture and locker room either.
They're gonna waive Tyrese Halliburton, De'Aaron Fox, or Davion Mitchell.
No, Josh. I meant they're gonna have to throw someone to the bench.
They're gonna have to wave goodbye.
Maybe Buddy Hield gets sold at the deadline.
Meant.
I don't know. Lehman's my interpreter.
Yeah, it's like I'm not gonna make that joke. The Minnesota Timberwolves got the 13th seed. They got talent though. They got a top 3 big man with the top 3 center in the league. So Josh, tell me a reason that the Timberwolves can finally put it together.
They have their starting 5. That's why. That's awesome. If they're fully healthy, D'Lo. I'm gonna do the George. D'Lo, Malik Beasley, Ant Edwards, Cat, and what's that?
Juancho Hernan-Gomez.
Not Juancho. They have another power forward.
No, there's no Cho.
Willie.
And
Willie Hernan-Gomez.
Willie or Billy.
No.
I don't know.
No, Jared Vanderbilt. I like him a lot.
Oh, not Jared Colbert.
They have a lot of young people, and they have Culver and Naz Reid. If they're healthy, this team is very talented.
George, tell Josh he's wrong.
It's the health, man. Cat and D'Lo have not played a whole heck of a lot of games together.
Cat's family died. What do you mean health? Mental health?
I don't know what you're trying to do here, Josh.
D'Lo's hurt too, like every year.
I'm just saying the lack of continuity is not great for a team that is looking to contend in the now.
Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oh, Josh Giddey. Josh,
okay.
Josh, what's the reason?
What's the reason they can make the playoffs?
You know what? I think it's the fact that as much as we like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with the ball, there are options that can handle the ball. I make fun of him a lot, but Pokusevski can kind of play off the dribble a little bit.
He's the next Giannis.
And Josh Giddey kind of has playmaking ability. Like he can scan. He's not athletic, can't score consistently, but he sees the floor very well. And that's something you can't really teach. So Shai has backups in the case that he gets overwhelmed. They still have Lou Dort. And they, the future is bright. It's not going to be this year, but, maybe if they surprise a lot of teams. They also play very hard. Like, they're one of the teams that just, like, every night, like, they're getting beat 40. Like, the starters are still there running. It's sad, but, like,
That's not a good thing.
Go OKC, man. Get those minutes.
I'm going to George, not OKC. George, why are the Thunder going to stay the same as they were last year?
Well, for one, their GM just acquiring players and then flipping them through first-round picks. And then just their roster construction is just a total question mark right now. They drafted a guy who most thought was not going to go where he went. Getting at 6 was very early. Shai obviously is their foundation and cornerstone, but I don't know besides him and Dort, like who else is filling out the starting lineup. And just a ton of youth as well. Not much experience here. And I don't know how the players feel about just the constant flipping of guys into assets. It almost reminds me of like an early, post KG Boston era.
Oh, where they drafted Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and developed another team that made the playoffs?
They shipped off their most beloved guy for a bunch of assets and then turned him into nothing. Kyrie experiment wasn't great.
The Western Conference Finals or Eastern Conference Finals. Okay, yeah.
George, Tatum and Brown were part of the deal.
I know, but I'm just saying.
No, okay, all right.
I'm saying after ever since they've gotten them, they haven't converted.
No.
They traded Jaylen Brown.
No.
My God, they traded Jaylen Brown.
I'm also looking at this.
Fine,
the Oklahoma City Thunder had a point differential of -11. That means if you turned on a Thunder game, on average, they were getting blown out, like no matter what. All right, last team here. We're going to call it the Houston Rockets. Josh, give me a reason that they can go from 0 to hero real quick.
They have a good mentorship over there with John Wall training Jalen Green to be a playmaker. Like, many people probably forgot, myself included. John Wall was nice running an offense. He was good. Christian Wood's still there. They got a lot of great pieces. I think with Jalen Green and Josh Christopher kind of taking mentorship from John Wall, sky's honestly the limit for them. Again, another team where it's like maybe not this year, but they definitely can surprise a lot of teams, and they're definitely going to play very aggressively. Just because didn't they play their whole core in the summer league? Like, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was Green. It was Kenny Martin Jr. It was the
Sengun.
And Sengun. Oh my!
Yeah, every team we're covering right now is just hoping to be this year's Hornets. That's just that's the goal for them. But George, give me a reason that the Rockets will not, and they will just be in the lottery.
Just overall talent. I mean, they got obviously the number 2 overall pick, but right now they're entitled to play John Wall, which takes away from KPJ and Jalen Green.
And then outside KPJ. Oh my gosh.
And then outside of that, I mean, yeah, they got a few young studs, but I don't know who's really coming off their bench besides like Jayshawn Tate. So
what? We just named all of them, George.
You went to summer league with us, George.
You're confident in those
starting also.
You're confident in those guys leading you to a playoff spot?
George, it's youth. Experience is gonna they play aggressive. Like I just said, it may not be this year, but like
Also,
they might surprise a lot of teams just with how
Silas
aggressive
is still there. Okay, Silas is still there. Never mind.
You thought he was fired? What?
I'm thinking to myself. Oh,
All right. Well, I'm going to call it here. Let's get this under 1:30. All right. We got 30 seconds to wrap this up. Thanks for watching or listening. This was, again, a quick pod. Reminder, at THHoopers on Instagram, G_Martin21 on Twitter. It's just burning my brain now. I can't stop saying it. George, now on TikTok, THHoopers pod. Drop some comments. I'll do all that fun stuff. Twitter, YouTube, hello once again. Vlog will be out probably by next episode, by Wednesday's episode. Love you guys. Thanks for being OG, and take care.